Alrighty, let's just jump into it, eh? Morene te whānau, nā mihi nui ki a koutou kua hui hui mai I tēnei wā. No mai hara mai ki te kaupapa o cafe, Kōrero Café, ko te mahi tuatahi me inui tātou. Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai I roto, tūtawa mai I waho, kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora ki te katoa, haumie, huie, tai ki e. Kia ora everyone, welcome to Kōrero Cafe number 2, where we get to dive a little bit deeper with 3 of the authors from Kaiparahuarahi No.4, Defining Youth Work. My name is Vi and I will be your fellows host for today, and I'm super excited to be able to sit down, chat with these 3 awesome people and kind of unpack and define what youth work looks like for them in their context. Ko waio, who am I? E te taha o toku māma no tauranga moana hau, he ri tēnei no ngā puhi ngā te taka mā tātua hoki, no Vyaan Kakau left tōku ingoa. Kia ora everyone, my name is Vi. I hail from the beautiful Tauranga Moana, up north as well, Ngāpuhi, and also a place that I call home is Portiki. I'm the Portiki of my whānau. I come from a family of 4, and I currently mahi for VOYCE Whakarongo mai as a kaiwhakamana on the ground, and I also do a little bit of mahi in the Rangatahi regeneration whānau for other Taiohi. So shout out to all of you who have tuned in that are currently a part of those kaupapa as well. Super awesome to see some familiar faces also. And before I kind of hand over the rako to our panellists, I just want to invite you all to kind of just chuck in where you're tuning in from. Ko wai koe, who are yous? So please feel free, whānau, at any time to drop any pātai as well throughout the session. So over to you, bro.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're the only fella. You're the only
fella, sorry,
you know.
bro. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, well, ta alofa lava, maloso for maduia, maloso for langi mama, e tatua inga ni tai out. My name is Ielua Junior Taula, and I'm a first generation born Samoan. Did that even make sense? I think it did. And I'm a father of 6, husband of 1, not 7. And I'm currently working as a youth worker in Oranga Tamariki in Christchurch, Sydenham office. A shout out to our Sydenham whānau. But yeah, I have been in the youth game for 5 years. That's just 5 years. No, started in Oranga Tamariki in 2017. And doing youth work, and so loving the journey at the moment. So yeah, really cool to be here. Thank you, Vi.
Cool, awesome, bro. How about you, Steph?
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm a youth, kids and children's pastor in an Anglican church called St. George's in Epsom, which is a fairly wealthy area of Tamaki Makaurau. And I also work for the Anglican Diocese, supporting youth pastors and doing some regional work. I've been doing youth work for about 17 years, which just sort of tells a tiny story. I fell into youth work in my local family church and discovered along the way that I loved young people, and we had a ball together, and my kids were able to come through the journey with me. So I'm a mum, a wife, a mum. I have 2 grown-up kids and 3 spectacularly amazing grandsons who are all under the age of 4. So my heart goes out to my daughter, who's attempting in lockdown to keep her house together. I think that's things that I'm supposed to answer.
Cool, kia ora, Steph. Over to you, Jamie.
Kia ora tātou. Ko te haumarangi te maunga no ko nei te awa iti, ko te whanganui atara, te moana, I tipu ake au ki te whanganui atara. I mahi ana ahau ki Scouts Aotearoa, hey youth program manager, called Jaime Hutton. So I'm Jamie. I hail from down here in Wellington. And I work for Scouts Aotearoa. I've been involved in both scouting and back when I was younger, guiding for most of my life. So I've been kind of a youth worker since I was a youth. And yeah, I'm now working as the youth program manager for Scouts Aotearoa, so creating youth development programs, supporting our Rangatahi to take ownership of their own journeys, and then supporting our adults to empower our youth members as well, to do a whole bunch of really cool things. Yeah, and I have no children at this point in my life. I just look after other people's and then give them back again. So yeah.
Love that, girl. Same here, same here. Free childcare service for
Yes.
my that's me. Nah, just joking. Anyway, thanks team. That was awesome. I've had the pleasure of again meeting you throughout the week, so I knew that stuff about you, but it's always good to kind of connect with our audience. Just to kick it off, I thought I would start us off with a nice light question. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Jaime. What is your superpower as a youth worker during lockdown?
I think for me, creating awesome programs, fun things that people can do in their homes, creating spaces where young people can connect with each other and just play a bunch of stupid games a lot of the time. But yeah, it's great.
Nice. How about you, Junior?
Mine would have to be faith. Just when we can't get out to others, we can pray, and that reaches further than my arms and my uncle, so to speak. Yeah, that's probably my superpower at the moment. Yeah.
Beautiful. And you, Steph?
I think it's probably gathering them together. I'd also go with Junior and say I pray a lot, but I have lots of opportunities for my young people to gather together, and I connect with my youth pastors. I spend a lot of time on this forum, but yeah, I think being able to connect is really important, and I think we've learnt that quite a lot in Tamaki Makaurau as we've spent quite a bit of time in lockdown.
Those are so lovely, your fellow superpowers. I did not prepare one as gorgeous and loving as that. And I'm a little bit scared to say it, but I'm just going to put it out there. My superpower as a youth worker during lockdown is dodging admin. If my manager's watching right now, Mianada and Mianada, very sorry, I will get my admin done. But definitely dodging admin has been my superpower this lockdown. I'm going to smash it out next Monday though. But yeah, that's me. Anyway.
Monday after.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll just jump straight into our next question. I'm just going to allow any of you to kind of jump on here. Are you able to kind of define what youth work looks like in your context?
Ladies first.
I go.
Junior tuned up late, so there you go, Steph.
I think for me, youth work is long term. I journey with my young people for a long period of time. My first ministry was 7 years, and my second was 5. And it's intergenerational, so I get to connect with siblings and parents, and we kind of do life together. So for me, youth work, there is programming, but it's not about a program. It's about our journey together and about finding that thing that makes each young person individual and gives them life, and just sort of blowing that into a fire so that they flourish in adult life. Something like that.
Beautiful, something like that. That was beautiful. Over to you, Jaime.
I think for me, youth work is a whole bunch of things, but it's about relationship. It's about empowering young people to navigate the world and be their best selves. And it's identifying those strengths and harnessing them, being really strengths-based and intentional about it. It's not just being in the presence, but it's also noticing those things in young people and helping them to grow and helping them to identify what's really awesome about them and helping kind of build those strengths in whatever way is best for them. Yeah.
Primo. Yeah, I was going to say what both Steph and Jaime said, but so maybe I should have gone first, but that's all right. No, look,
It was
no, I
like
think,
ladies first,
what
ladies
does
first.
yeah? What does youth work look like for Oranga Tamariki? Look, there's a whole lot of variety. Like youth work looks so different for a whole lot of us, and I think that's the beautiful thing about youth work within Oranga Tamariki at the moment for us, is that we're all pretty unique in our approach. And obviously the goal is always going to be to walk beside our tamariki so that they can live better lives, successful lives, in whatever shape, whatever that looks like. And that's really our that's what youth work looks like for our OT at the moment for us in the space. Was that the question? Why?
Yeah, it's defining what youth work looks like in your context, bro. So pretty much
Yeah.
whatever you feel. Yeah.
So that's kind of there's two streams at the moment for us in OT. There's youth work in residence and there's youth work on site, and they both look a little bit different. So part of our current journey at the moment is just trying to refine that a little bit more and trying to get a little bit of some, because you don't want to take away from the uniqueness that each youth worker brings, but you do want to try and bring it in so it looks the same so kids are experiencing similar ways. It's kind of that whole sunblock thing. If sunblock was an approach, we apply it differently, it'll never look the same, but we definitely need sunblock, right? Yeah, that's all I have to say at the moment. Hopefully
About awesome metaphors. I love those. I'm gonna use those. Sunblock, chair.
when I'm in Hawaii, you get that a lot, just
well, I'm also in my Hawaii, but I don't have any sunblocks. So, hey, bro, I just wanted to kind of touch on what you've just said. Do you, seeing as I know that you've come from a different organisation before Oranga Tamariki, is the youth work in that context from your past mahi a lot different to your mahi at Oranga Tamariki?
Yeah, it is. I've done, it's kind of a little bit of a fib earlier. I've done youth work for over 20 years, and I was raised in church. So I was raised in church, pastor's son. So you can just imagine my dad was as soon as it kind of got old enough, he was like, okay, you do this, you do that, you play this, you lead the end, and kind of. So youth work look different in church, look different in an organisation. I worked for Kaipapa Māori organisation. Shout out to Te Ora Hu, amazing people, and and it looked really, really different. What I mean by that is that sometimes in those spaces, contractually, you're obligated to do certain things, and so you're in there for that. But if there was no engagement, you could kind of remove yourself or disengage or close a case. We're in OT, it's the opposite. You're in there and you're kind of in there for the long haul, no matter what, no matter whether kids want to hang out with you or not. But the ideal is that they would love to hang out with you, but if so we can't just opt out. Yeah. We don't feel like it, that's just one of the differences, but there are many different layers. Yeah.
No, awesome, cool, thanks, bro. All right, I'm gonna chuck it over to you, Steph. Are you able to tell us about your busiest time of the year working in that youth space? What is it? And I'll ask you a question following on from that.
My busiest time of the year, I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. I have two major busy times of the year. One is Christmas and one is Easter. So, which is probably fairly logical being in a Christian church. Easter, we're at Easter camp, and so we're dead afterwards. We spend 5 days hanging out with our young people in the Auckland Anglican Diocese. We have a camp, and we gather together kids from across the city, and we just have a ball, and we learn about the Jesus story one way or another, and we talk about, we develop relationships and do all that good stuff that camps do. Christmas is just like a month of a variety of things, because I work with kids as well. We have pageants, we have special services. We at the end of the year we mark that as kids grow into different stages. So like when kids go from intermediate to college, we mark that in a service, and when kids go to university, we do that again. And I just find that really important to help both our young people go, hey, I've made it somewhere, and and we can value them, but also to encourage our adults to realize they've got to change their relationships, and recognize the growth of our young people. So life in a faith-based organization has its challenges, and we have different periods of time that are a bit mental.
So, for most of us youth workers that are out there, at the end of the year, it's we kind of wind down, we're getting ready to put our feet up and just take a well-deserved break. Do you get to have Christmas off?
Nah. Partially because of who I am. So because I do across the three, I usually support our vicars right up until the end of worship services on Christmas Day. So last year we had 5 services, I think, in a 12-hour period, 2 of which I had responsibility for, and 3 of which I just supported. St. George's is really big in Anglican circles in Auckland. It's probably the 3rd biggest, I think. So we had quite a lot of people coming through those services, which in the context that we're talking about now seems a little bit freaky, but there we are.
Yeah. I've just had a couple questions come through for you, Steph, if you wouldn't mind maybe answering them. So the first question that we've got from an anonymous person is, does your belief/faith influence the way that you do your mahi?
In that I approach young people for who they are. I've been on a learning journey. There are all sorts of different theologies out there of how God relates to us. But my learning has been that all people are beloved of God, and so that does influence how I do my mahi. I also, it's a 24/7 thing. My faith is something that I don't put down when I walk out the door, and I could see my kids anywhere. So if I'm like rip-roaring drunk walking down the main street of Howick, then I'm undoing all of my work that I've done and encouraging them to take care of themselves. So it's my faith informs who I am and how I relate to people.
And is this kind of similar, like a similar whakaaro for you two as well? Obviously not with with you, Junior, maybe with your faith-based stuff, but just as a youth worker, is that a core belief that you have as well? What Steph's just said about just being good role models, really?
Yeah. That informs my practice as well. When I think about and how I connect my faith to it is because aroha is obviously a value of Oranga Tamariki, and there's aroha within culture, and that love looks very different in culture, and organisation looks different as well. But then also my faith, it looks very, very different. And I think that's something that I always walk with, is that this love that I've loved. I can love because I am loved, and when I've known how I've been loved despite all my errors and mistakes, and I can tell you now, this man talking right here has made countless of mistakes. I've shared this with Vi this week. This is a really shocking man, but I've been loved by God, and when kids let you down, or they don't turn up to appointments, or they don't want to see you, or they smash you with all these lovely words, you sort of think, man, I've been like that towards my father in some way, and so knowing that he still loves me, I've been able to still continue to show that love for young people. And you know what? And the honest truth is, young people have always come back to me and have always said to me, "Why is it that you never are angry? Why don't you? How come you keep smiling?" It's all of those little things, little remarks, and it's a reminder that I'm just a reflection of whom I love. And it's hopefully helps.
Dropping the gems this morning. Love it.
It's the pine tree.
You call them coconuts dropping from the tree, bro. Far out. Cool shot, bro. That was mean. Jamie, did you have anything that you wanted to say?
I feel like Junior's just I lost everything that I was going to say because that was so fantastic. I think for me, you you're always on to a certain degree. You're always a bit of a role model, especially when I work a lot in the volunteer space, and young people don't always see, you're working or you're not working. You're always a person, and you are a person first and foremost. And so you bring that with you wherever you go. And you never know quite when you're going to run into a young person, especially when you're in a sort of more prominent position where a lot of the time they know who you are, even if you don't know who they are. You form those intentional relationships, but if there's a few thousand young people, you can't know all of them individually as well, but you might run into someone in town. I had an incident where I ran into one of my young people while I was on a date in town on a Saturday night. I was like, hey, but you do, and you always kind of got to be mindful of that you never quite know when you're going to run into someone, and so making sure that you are living out that thing in your everyday life as well is really important.
I totally get that with the, well, not with the date. I'm recently not getting any dates lately, everyone. Because I'm only 22, everyone. So I like to go out and drink, and I like to go out and club. And then I start to realize that my kids are getting older and they're starting to go out clubbing. So it's like, what the heck, like that, the boundaries, and like trying to make sure, like who I am as a youth worker reflects who I am as a person as well. So yeah, totally get that. Seeing as you're here, Steph, I thought I would just start with you. This is a question for you all. What's your go-to Zoom secret tip that you would like to share with everyone today?
I think being really intentional about involving everyone who's on the Zoom. So, like I have a bunch of young people on the screen, and you can chuck out a question, and then there's like, that silence of death that you sit there. I've started going that eventually there'll be one person that answers, and so I've invited them to then tag the next person, so that the conversation actually gets going, particularly for those ones who are maybe less confident or comfortable. So yeah, I guess that's my current thing that I'm working on.
Love it. Just with you kind of reminded me, Steph. Whānau, please drop yours as well in the chat as well. So if you have any secrets, please, I'm so keen to learn more. Because my one, I said it yesterday in our email, but my secret Zoom tip is always just have like a hoodie or a shirt that's on your chair or your desk. Because if you wake up late, you can just chuck it over and no one knows. Like, nobody knows. This has been my go-to secret all lockdown. Last week, I'm pretty sure a couple of weeks ago, my hair was out here and my manager was just like, whoa. And I was just like, don't even ask. I'm so sorry. But, so it's those little things that just make your mahi during lockdown so much more easier. But I'm going to pass it over to you, Jaime, so you can tell us your lockdown secret.
Mine, I've got many, but my main one is, to be honest, screens. I have currently call on one screen, and then I've got other screens up here with different things. And it means if I facilitate a lot of online workshops and things, it means I can put like a PowerPoint up here, and I can have the breakout session over here, or the resource that we're going to all be collaborating on together over here, and then still actually be able to see everyone at the same time. And so I was really lucky when lockdown got announced. I nicked a couple of screens from work and set them up on my desk so that I've got just this wall of screens, and it means I can keep an eye on the different things that are happening at the same time.
Wow, that's so efficient. Maybe we need to do a Zoom, sis, and then you can teach me your ways, because wow, that was awesome. How about you, Junior?
I think you just got to use the background as much as you can. You don't want people to see your unfold washing sitting in the background. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I always try and make sure there's a shirt like you, a shirt on the side, a beanie or something. This Samoan hair of mine is a little bit, messy sometimes. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Just just keep a couple of pieces of items of clothing on the side, get their background up. Because honestly, if I took this background off and I took this hat off that I'm wearing,
we would know that you don't help your wife with the laundry, eh? Just joking. Anyway, thank you for answering those. See, I'm just going to carry on with you, Junior, and this question's for you. As an Indigenous youth worker or kaimahi, how do you indigenize or embed your culture into it?
Oh, thank you for the question, Vi. I had to think about. I got to think about this. How do I embed my culture in my mahi? Well, I think to embed my culture in my mahi, I need to be I embed with my culture. As in, I really need to be immersed and connected, tied to my culture, surrounded by it, because there's beauty within your culture that is, that's really, really good to share. I mean, it's hard to share, to be able to be cultural. I don't know, lack of a better term or a better way of saying it, but when you don't have that culture in you, and so I think for me, that's probably one of the ways I go about ensuring that my mahi has that cultural flavour coming through. Because sometimes you can be a part of different cultures. That doesn't necessarily have to be ethnicity based, but that can come through in your mahi, like the way you speak, the way you conduct yourself. So for me, as long as I'm surrounded with my culture, that's how I continue to deliver cultural components of who I am in my work with Rangatahi. And they, some of us PIs are quite humorous, so we use our humor a lot. So that's one of the ways that we use to look at engagement. And so that's
cool.
Kind of how I use it.
So my follow-on question would kind of be around, do you have any some advice for any other Indigenous youth workers that are wanting to kind of take that step to include their culture into their mahi, but may be a little bit whakamā or don't really know where to start?
Yeah, I think like as I sort of just said before, sorry, I was just saying that, there's beauty in your culture, so be brave to share it with others. Don't be afraid to share that, because there's so much beauty in our culture that lies within it. And a good way to start, if you're unsure, it's probably to try and connect with those in your culture. I'm always surrounded by family, always surrounded by guys that we in sports. We always get together, and it's you're always immersed around the whole lifestyle of being a Samoan for me, and PI is around me. So and naturally, when I'm talking to anyone or dealing with anything, it usually comes out in a Samoan flavour, which sometimes my wife doesn't like because she thinks I'm not serious enough sometimes. But that's just, I just enjoy a good laugh,
Yeah, awesome.
So be brave.
Be brave. You've heard it first from Junior Whānau. Awesome. Okay, I'm just going to jump straight to you, Jamie. It was awesome really catching up with you, and knowing a little bit more about where you've come from, and literally knowing you are a legacy baby from Scouts, kind of. So I was wondering if you can kind of paint that picture for our audience and our other panelists and explain and kind of tell us what it was like growing up in the world of Scouts and how that in turn became your career through youth work.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So I actually got involved with guiding rather than Scouts when I was a young person. Partially because my brother was in Scouts and I loved him to pieces. We get on really well as adults, but while we were younger, it was better for us to have our own separate spaces. We're quite close together in age, and it was just for the best. So yeah, I went up through guiding, and my mum was my leader. My brother went up through scouting, and dad was his leader. And so we both went up through the whole system, did all the things. And my brother and my dad are both still heavily involved in scouting. My brother's doing national roles. He's currently working for Outward Bound, doing really cool stuff. And my dad's involved as well. And so, it's sort of my whole family's in it a lot of times. Sometimes mum sits at the table and she's like, I'm the only one that's not doing this. But she still kind of has been involved. And so, grew up going through that, and then moved overseas for a while, did a bunch of other things, came back and got involved with the Rover section, which is for 18 to 26 year olds. So all about creating your own programs, doing all sorts of cool things. Got the opportunity to go to Iceland for a Rover camp, because scouting's just across the whole world. So we had 5,000 people from 93 different countries all camping out in Iceland for 2 weeks. Slightly increased the entire population of Iceland because Scouts. Yeah. And so, yeah, got involved with that and then kind of fell into my role, really. I was looking for a bit of extra work and I had a bit of extra time. And so started volunteering at the office 10 hours a week, just writing bits of the new program. And then it escalated and snowballed from there. So I ended up, coming in more and more often, ended up picking up a paid contract position sort of for about 20 hours a week, writing programs. And then one of my colleagues moved on to a new job, and I ended up picking up a whole bunch of her responsibilities, working with our youth advisory group and doing a bunch of other things. And it just kind of kept snowballing. Say yes enough times and suddenly you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. To the point where about a month ago now, I started in the youth program manager role, where I'm now in charge of youth program across the organization and doing a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed.
Wow, that's incredible. I just wanted to kind of ask you, because in our kōrero the other day, you spoke about how you're doing your tohu, your diploma in youth work, and kind of how that come about as well.
Yeah. So we had Rod Baxter actually came into the office. We were talking about the tools that we need to give to our volunteers around, upskilling and youth work practices. And obviously not all of our volunteers can go into a full diploma. They've got their lives. So some of them are, a lot of them are parents that just want to help out once in a while. But what youth work things we need to make sure that all of our volunteers have. And then got talking about, I was like, oh, there's a diploma and some other things. I was like, oh yes, tell me more. And so I ended up with, well, here's a name. You can name drop me if you like. Cool, Mandy, sort it out, go do your thing. And so, yeah, in March, I had no idea that I was going to be studying. And now I'm most of my way through a diploma in youth work as well, with assignments that are due soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
And it's been so fantastic working in an environment that's really supportive of me upskilling and gaining that extra mātauranga as well. And just, gaining my knowledge and supporting me to do that. Is really fantastic. So been learning a lot.
I absolutely love that. I do have a few questions about can I speak English today? I do have a few questions and answers here. I'm going to just power through our last question and then we will get to these questions at the end. So Steph, can you please tell us about a special or funny or cool moment that you've shared with a rangatahi that you've worked with where you've kind of just been like, yo, this career is for me, or this mahi has been my calling, or just a moment that you'd like to share with everyone?
I think when I finally worked out that, because I was not convinced that youth work was for me, so I had a bit of a debate with God about that before I took on the role. Because I'm not frantically tall and I found large groups of young people intimidating. And so I'm like, how can I lead or teach young people that I'm terrified of? So we had a bit of a debate, and in the end, as one tends to with God, I tested it out, and of course God knew what he was talking about. And about 5 years later, we had started holiday programs, and we ran holiday programs 1 week each holiday. And my youth group were the leaders, and we would have kids from the community for the week. And it grew pretty decently. I had about 20 to 25 leaders, and I had 60 or so kids coming along each time. And as I watched our young people pick up their the roles and the things that they loved, I realized that this was what I loved to do. And just seeing, like, we live in an area, our local college where all our youth group came from is a wannabe private school. It's a public school, but it thinks it's a private school, and so the expectations academically are really high. And I'm not frantically academic myself, and neither was one of my children out of the two. She had a learning difficulty, but she found her place in leading these young people and organising the life out of them, and just doing admin. And she was happy as a clam. And I realised as I watched young person after young person after young person find their space, that was what I love to do. So that's where that's my joy.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Chuck it over
Sure.
to any one of you.
Oi. Do you want to go, JP? Okay. I sorry, I'm always like I'm respective people, man. I'm always like, oh, you before me? Yeah. Anyway, what do you call it? Yeah, I think mine sort of has happened when I've had, I guess, I don't know, it's really tricky, but where people have, young people have always turned around and said, man, you are the bomb youth worker, or, you know, they've made those sort of, they give that sort of information, which is sort of reaffirms that you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing. You know, when young people are saying it, I would probably be different if they said, "Oh, you suck, get out of my life." And you know, it's pretty rare. I have to say that. I have to hand on heart. It's been pretty rare to have young people say that to me. I've never really had that kind of encounter. I've had when young people are angry, and I feel like that's where I've sort of based my whole. Yep, this is the place this is the arena that I need to be in. Because as long as young people are saying, "Man, you're actually awesome, man, you're like thank you for, you know, being that person for me," that kind of keeps me going as yep, this is the space that I need to be in. I think none of us would probably go on a journey to a location which takes a year, you know, to you know, it takes one whole year to arrive to a location or destination. And I had to work with a young kid, and every day for a whole year I'll drive from like Wellington to Christchurch. Now there was this place called Rangiora, which is just outside the outskirts of Christchurch, if you know the space. I drove from Rangiora to the school called Hagley Community College every day but the weekend, just to get to the drive to the to the car park and have to drive all the way back home because this kid would not get out of the car. He was a kid that never ever went outside of his house because anxiety was, you know, just out the gate. And so for me, it took a whole year. This kid obviously knew that I was never going to give up. He's now in full-time education and doing really well. He writes to me every now and then, just bragging about how he said that, you know, for him that no one, knowing that I never ever gave up. And for me, that the stories like that keep me going. Yeah, this is why I need to be in this space. So yeah, shout out to my boy who's well, he probably won't listen, but he probably won't be on here to even watching. But, you know, shout out to him anyway. I'm sure his heart's listening somewhere. He's probably thinking, yeah, Junior must be talking about me at this very moment. So, yeah, just stories like that, eh? Yeah, have you ever had your own house robbed by your own clients, and then for them to find out it was your house and they turn around and go, oh my gosh, and they break down so bad? Well, that's happened to me once. And
Wow.
and did I press charges? No. Again, because of that whole love thing. And that's how I know that my heart is here for the right reason. It's never been, I mean, if I was that prick, I would have been like, yo, you know, I'm charging you, you know, you took a lot. But no, it hasn't been like that. Definitely hasn't been like that at all. I've never shared that ever before, but so if anyone's watching from Oranga Tamariki, don't tell me. But yeah, you know, that's the heart, man. That's how I know I'm in the right space. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, bro. We love you, Melissa. Shout out to our girl Melissa from OT that's tuning in right now. Kia ora.
Yes.
Over to you, Jamie.
Oh gosh, I've got lots. I think for me, my favorite part, so I'm also a volunteer venture leader, which is the teenage section. I'm not biased, but it's also my favorite section. I mean, I don't have favorites, but they're my favorite. And they're 14.5 to 18-year-olds. One of the things that we do, so some of them work through the Achievement Pathways, the award scheme, and at the end of their time, they'll finish off what's known as the Queen Scout Award, and it's turning into the Queen Scout Goldie Award at the moment. And the end part of that award is to sit down with a group of peers and a few mentors and leaders as well. It's usually sort of 5 or 6 of us, and talk through their journey and what they've done to complete the award, what they've done, like they've gone on adventurous journeys, they've gone and like done service projects, they've done a whole bunch of different things. And we basically just work through each part of it and talk about it. And they always come in as like, oh yeah, this is just a tick box exercise. But what it is it's this huge reflection piece. And it's always really fascinating. You watch and you always learn something amazing about a person when you're doing it. But you also like watching them go from like, oh yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this, to like, hold up a second. And I'm known for asking slightly mean pointed questions that make them think and reflect and, you know, acknowledge that they're awesome, because I mean like that. But there's that moment where they switch and they're kind of like, I have changed a lot. I have grown a lot. I've done this and I've done this. And like at the end, you know, you shower them with compliments and you very intentionally tell them why they're awesome and why they should be really proud of what they've done and all this kind of stuff. And it's just those moments where you watch them realize how far they've come and how much they've grown over the past however long. And, you know, they started doing these things because they wanted to tick a box or whatever, but really it's about so much more than that. And it's just that framework that's kind of helped them get there. And watching them realize how much they've grown is just my favorite thing. Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful. Again, I did not prepare like you. I'm the host and I didn't come prepared like you of your fellas' beautiful moments. No, thank you all for sharing your fellas. I thought I would share mine as well. It's a bit of a funny moment. So Rangatahi that I still currently work with, we're quite close. We have a really good relationship to the point and the extent where one day I was wearing these shoes. So, yep, they're quite worn. They're worn. I love that look. That's kind of my look. I like, you know, looking kind of op shoppy vibes, but like I didn't buy fast fashion. And she was like, "Hey, Vi, your shoes, they look, they're cool. They're cool." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. And she was like, "Hey, I just got some shoes that look exactly like yours. Do you want to buy them? Because no offense, they just look horrible. They're so ugly. They're so worn out." And I was just like, "Oh, thanks. Thanks, young person." Went home, rang my sister, was FaceTiming her, and I said, "Oh my God, she told me that my shoes were worn out." And my sister was like, "Yeah, they are. She's right. So that was like, I really, it was a moment where it made everything that I do quite lighthearted, and I enjoyed that because that was the relationship and the rapport we had built. But after that, I own so many shoes now, it's not funny. I went and bought me all new shoes because teenagers, hey, they're so savage. Like, they're honestly so savage. They're so honest. Like Melissa's just said, young people bring the honesty. They put the honesty on for all of us. It's hilarious. Awesome. So we've answered all of my questions, and I thought that we could jump into the Q&As. So I thought I would just ask this one, put it out, and anyone can answer. This is coming from someone anonymous. What's some unique content to share with our rangatahi while we're in lockdown via social media?
Oh boy, I've got a list. I mean, shameless self-promotion plug here, but we do have a Scouting from Home great indoors program that's currently available. If you go to the Scouts thing, we've basically been releasing a series of programs and activities that young people can do with their families or by themselves from home, and we're releasing one every day for the next however long we end up stuck in this. I think we've got 36 activities total of fun things that young people can do. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so there's Scouting from Home, and there's the Great Indoors, and there's a whole bunch of cool resources. In terms of other fun things, like I really love creating things like Mentimeter, and we use Scribblio a lot, and some of those online games where you can just sort of have that whanaungatanga and that connection that's really important in terms of just having some fun together. I think that's sort of one of the most important things we've provided, like some consistency, some connection with other people, bit of community in a space where we're all kind of spread apart. And so yeah, there's a whole bunch of really cool resources for just creating spaces where they can have fun together for a while.
Awesome. How about you, Stephen Jr.?
Steph? No. Junior? Yeah, look, I'm always about the positive vibes kind of guy, eh? So I'm always like trying to find inspirational videos or you know, all those cool videos like Da Man. My kids love Da Man. If you guys even watch his videos, they really have some really positive messages in them. And so I'm always about those like short snippets that help you know, our rangatahi during times like these where, yeah, and you know, a lot of our guys are on their scrolling thing, so they love the TikTok thing that's just short and sharp, hits the you know, hits the message. And I'm always about that, setting that out. Yeah, that's the one. Yo.
Steph, how about you?
Yeah, I am so bad this time. First lockdown, I did a bunch of just reflective videos. So and they were like sort of 2 or 3 minutes, and particularly as we walked up to Easter, and Easter was a really big deal to be in lockdown, and congregations were really grieving, and so and I crossed over roles. I changed churches during that first lockdown as well, so I was working across different congregations. So I just did some sort of videos that told a little bit of a story and gave us something to think about. But this time I'm just keeping my head above water, man. Yeah, so my social media game is rubbish. I do. Yep.
And that's all good, Steph. That is all good. Well, I just thought I would say, jump onto all of the organisations that work with Rangatahi. If people are looking for ideas and stuff, a lot of those organisations and services, they're currently running lots of lockdown challenges that are over social media. Just to give you a few, Whakarongo mai. Sorry, that's me plugging my mahi. VOYCE is running a few. So head over to VOYCE's page. I don't know about other Taiohi, but hopefully maybe they are. Also thought I would mention the Afi app, which is this new app that was created. I met the awesome co-creators down at Involve, who were awesome, where you can share how you're feeling throughout the day and connect with other people from all around the motu. So definitely just like go and have a look on all of those pages. I want to answer this one, and I thought this was really cool, and I hope it's okay if I answer this first. But the next question is, do you have a main framework and a guide that you use when working with rangatahi, keeping in mind each situation is different? I quickly just want to share screen. I want to try and share screen and just share this with everyone. So this is, you can see this is the Mana Taiohi framework. And this is the kind of framework that I work from. I also deliver trainings on Mana Taiohi. So if anybody would like a training on how to work with rangatahi in Aotearoa in mana enhancing ways, please hit up Shannon, who's our communications director. But yeah, so I'll pass it on to everyone else. But that's my framework that I work by, which is, yeah, it's so easy. It's like it brings common sense into context. So yeah, Mana Taiohi is my framework, and I'll pass it over to you, Junior.
I was actually going to show that very same diagram that you just showed up, but that's all right, Vi. Thank you for getting there first. Look, there's plenty of frameworks out there, but one of my personal favorites is my lived experience framework, which is all based on it's hard to kind of teach what you haven't gone through or come back from, and so I always sort of look at. Sorry, they might not answer anybody's question, but actually, if you, my framework's always sort of based around the things that I've walked through in my own life, and how I can pick that apart and share that with others. To, when you understand what hurt looks like, when you understand what success looks like, when you understand what securing a job looks like, all of those things, financial stuff, you can really piece together something that's really nice from your own heart, maybe, hopefully, because I've had a lot of young people that come back to me and say, are you just doing that thing that you everyone says that, you guys always say that. I know that question you're asking. You're just trying to get me to say that I want to go to work. It's all of that stuff. So I always try and make sure that I don't keep to a particular framework, but the real frameworks work for me, and that's real life. Oh,
love it. That's like me also. Yep. Chuck it over to you, Jamie.
Yeah, Mana Taiohi, as soon as I saw that question, I was like, Mana Taiohi, I love Mana Taiohi so much. It's such a great framework. The other one that I use quite a bit in a scouting context is we've got this thing called the Scout Method, which is all about how we do scouting. And so there's 7 points. So it's about like learning by doing, adventurous activities, community engagement, personal progression, youth leading, adult supporting, and it's just kind of got that framework around how we go about doing these things. And it's a really useful tool as well, because it, from our perspective, especially when we're helping train our volunteers, it gives them some of those sort of concrete context and some of those concrete tools to use with young people when they're not immersed in the entire youth work world day in day out like some of us are. Helps kind of give them some of those extra tools as well. So yeah, I use that one as well. Plus a million others that I get far too excited about, but I don't want to rabbit on for too long, so we'll leave it there for now.
All right, cool. Thank you, Jamie. Over to you, Steph.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit like Junior. I kind of respond to what's needed in the community at the time. But I think what undergirds is things like, you know how you start talking and you think you have stuff in your head and then it all falls out? Yeah. Things like Circle of Courage and our own New Zealand version that has the spirituality as part of it. Mana Taiohi, of course, I do some volunteer work for Korowai Tupu, and I do the assessments for people to join, and I just love hearing the different ways that we all do our youth work and our youth development. So yeah, I kind of work with what is needed at the time out of who I am, but there are some principles that sit in the background, and of course for a person of faith, I come from a relatively biblical perspective. I'll probably get hammered for that. Anyway, let's move on.
Good vibes only in this kōrero today. Anyway, for this next one, this one will be a faith-based question. So it's how do those from faith backgrounds navigate current discussions like ending the conversion therapy bill, because this may impact young people in your context or their peers?
Sure, Jamie.
Sure, it's the only one that's not in a faith-based organisation.
Yeah. No. Sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I'm terrible.
No, all good. How do those from faith backgrounds navigate current discussions like ending conversion therapy? But can I even English today? Wow. No. Navigate current discussions like ending conversion therapy bill, because this might impact young people in your context or their peers. So how would you?
Faith background.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a good question. I don't know, this answers it, but I'll try it. Like, this is like, for me, my faith is a personal thing, and I don't go pushing that on anybody, especially if their views are very different or need supporting around views that I don't agree with. I still will tautoko any young people to whatever they believe in. If that's what they believe in is right, for whatever reason, I will support them in the best way I possibly can. And some of that could be informed by my faith, some of it just because of that's what I believe is right. You shouldn't go jumping into deep waters with no thingy on. You know, there's just really I'm that kind of I'm a realist at the same time. You know, I don't, and I'm not one to go and impose my beliefs on everybody. But if they ask and then they wanted to hear from a faith point of view, then yeah, man, I'll share it, happily share it. But I don't know if that answers the question. I don't know.
I think it's a good start, bro. We'll pass it over to you, Steph, and then we'll just like keep talking about it, because I think this is quite a good question, but it's quite a big question. And just remember that like not everyone will agree with what you say, but that is your own personal opinion, and that's all that really matters, because we're here to talk about your fellas' thoughts, eh? So hi.
I guess I've been on a journey. So being probably the older person on the screen, I've been part of the church as it's grown and developed in its understanding of how God relates to us. And in my ministry, I had to do the same. So when I first started, I hadn't thought about people being gay or, being in any, I didn't actually think very much about our bicultural relationships either, because that was my context. And so I've learnt a lot through the years, and I think my learning was that from my perspective, I understand that God loves all his people, whether he knows them or not, whether they know him or not. And so as we've learnt more, my understanding has changed, and I guess my perspective is I think we need to listen, and I think we need to listen with open hearts, and you know, I think we also have to trust, from my perspective as a person of faith, we have to trust that God actually gets his people. And so if this is an issue, which I know it's an issue, I've heard stories, I've listened to the hearts of people that I care about deeply who are affected by conversion therapy and the way the church relates to even just someone being of a different age. And so as God, I believe that God loves me. I believe that God loves others as well. And that's my job. My job is not to judge. My job is not to impose. My job is to let God be God and for me to do what I believe God tells me to do. So, yeah, I guess I seek to approach without judgment. And I think being in the youth development field, we're actually expected to do that. I think that's part of what we're invited into when we walk into this field in the bigger picture as well. I don't know if that's helpful, and it probably
no, that was beautiful.
But that's where I sit. I think we need to listen with our hearts and walk with those who are vulnerable.
Yeah. Continue to show love, Steph?
Yeah, I think so.
And Jamie.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. One last question. We're going to do a quick fire and a short sentence. How do you distinguish youth work from youth development?
One sentence. Oh God, I'm gonna do the talking thing, which is gonna make it harder to be a short. Oh God, the sun has been moving this entire call. You might have noticed me getting more and more into a corner. I think for me, youth development, every young person is developing, and youth development is the development of our young people, whereas youth work is the intentional practice and the mahi behind that, the intentionality behind the development. I feel like if I'd had more time to think about it, I might have come up with a better answer than that. But yeah, I think youth work is the intentional building of that development. And the development will happen without youth work as well. But youth work is just guiding that development to be more mana enhancing and more strength-based. And yeah.
That's a good question. Whoever asked that question, so good. I think like when I think about youth work is the how I'm going to do it. Youth development is kind of like as you said, Jamie, kind of that's where I don't even know if that makes sense. In my head, it makes sense, but the youth work is how you go about to build that stuff to get our young people to that space or develop them to arrive at whatever destination location that they're hoping to arrive to. It's the tools that we bring through youth work. I'm lost now.
No, I get that.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, you go, Steph, sorry. Aroha mai.
Is youth development the knowledge and youth work the mahi?
The hui and the dewey, that's what I was going to say.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a fascinating question, actually. I'm going to think about that for a while.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Same. I was like, oh, this one's just blindsided me. Oh, where? Chuck it to you first.
Because you kind of see them as you
connected.
want to get connected. You want to get the good balance of both.
I guess youth work is that positive youth development. It's not just youth development. It's supporting positive youth development and being very intentional about it.
Ooh, I like this one that Charlie's just sent through.
Youth work
is the car and youth development is the fuel / electricity. We love that.
There you go. It's the vehicle that gets them.
It's the vessel.
Anyway, young people, they have their agency and they sorry.
No, all good.
I was gonna say because young people they've got their own agency. They bring a lot to the table. They bring their own mana. They bring their own everything, and we're just here to kind of give them a nudge, give them some fuel, give them some push in the right direction.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. All right, whānau. So we have gone 17 minutes over time. Woohoo! But I just wanted to say ngā mihi nui for coming as yourselves and coming into the space to talk honestly and openly to everyone. For everyone in the audience that tuned in and watched, we didn't talk about the articles, and I did that on purpose so that you guys can actually go and read their articles and know about these humans for who they are before you just read, their name, author, Junior Taula, So if you want to read more or you haven't read their article, please go over to Taiohi and check out our resources for Kaiparahuarahi No.4, Defining Youth Work. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming. It was so much fun diving a little bit deeper into defining youth work with you three. So kia ora. Do you have any last words that you want to say to everyone?
Thank you for having us on again, Vi. Thank you, Aratahui, for inviting us to the space. We really, really appreciate it. Press like and subscribe. I've always wanted to do that. Sorry.
He gets invited to one panel discussion and he's dropping out subs. Just joking. Just joking.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for having us. Yeah, that's all I would say. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora.
I love connecting with other youth development people from all around the Motu. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I know we're 17 minutes over, but let's just make it 25. Look, thank you so much for the question. Thank you everyone for the questions. That one, I'm going to go away and sit and bake a banana bread and think about that question. Youth work, youth development.
Do his laundry.
I think it's really valuable having these spaces where we can have, that community and that kōrero and that discussion, connecting with people, because we've all got different stories. We've got things to learn from each other, and I've just loved sitting back and listening to everyone else talk, to be honest. It's just fantastic to hear so many things, people doing such great mahi all over the place.
Awesome. With that being said, I will just close us with a karakia and then we can gap it. All right. Me and tātou. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki, ai ukaraiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, āmene. And that's a wrap on Kōrero Café number 2. All right, ka kite fam.
Can someone help me fold my laundry?
Kia ora, Shannon here. We hope you enjoyed that Kōrero Café featuring 3 of the authors that have contributed to the latest Kaiparahuarahi Defining Youth Work. You can purchase this issue and more at our website www.arataiohi.org.nz/resources.